The mysterious offer. The sun had barely set when Adam first noticed them. He was just a normal human, living in a world that was already strange enough. But nothing could have prepared him for the bizarre encounter that was about to change his life forever. It was late in the evening, and Adam had just finished his shift at the research lab. He had always found comfort in routine, in the predictable nature of his job. As he walked home through the dimly lit alley, he didn't expect anything out of the ordinary. The streets were quiet, the only sound being the faint hum of distant vehicles. But as he passed by an old abandoned building, something caught his eye. At first, it was a flicker of light, strange, pulsating colors that seemed to dance around the darkened doorway. Adam paused. He wasn't sure what he was seeing. His curiosity got the best of him. And before he could second-guess his decision, he found himself walking toward the glowing doorway. The moment he stepped inside, the air felt different, thick with energy, charged with something unexplainable. The room was large, yet somehow it felt confined, as if it were holding its breath. And then he saw them. There were 3 figures standing in the center of the room. They were tall, their features sharp and otherworldly. Their skin shimmered like polished silver, and their eyes glowed faintly in the dark. Adam took a step back, feeling a sudden surge of fear run through him. They were aliens. One of them, the tallest, stepped forward. "You are human, correct?" Its voice was smooth, calm, yet it carried an undeniable weight. Adam hesitated, his heart racing in his chest. "Ah, yes," he stammered, unsure whether he should run or stay. What are you?" The alien's eyes flickered with amusement. "We are the XLR," it said. "We come from beyond your stars. We have been observing your species for quite some time." Adam's mind raced. He had heard of aliens before, in movies, in books, but this was no fiction. This was real. He could hardly believe it. The second alien, smaller but just as intimidating, stepped forward. "We have a proposal for you, human. A bargain, if you will." "A bargain?" Adam repeated, his voice shaky. "What do you mean?" The third alien, the one standing a bit farther away, spoke now, its voice even colder than the others. "A bargain that will change your life. Your body in exchange for power, wealth, and influence beyond your understanding. All we ask is that you accept our terms." Adam's mind struggled to process the words. What could they possibly want with him? A regular human from Earth. And why offer him such power? There had to be a catch. "Why me?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Why do you want my body?" The alien who had spoken first tilted its head. "Because you are unique," it said simply. "You're human, and that makes you valuable. To us, to others in the galaxy, you are a rare commodity. We offer you the chance to be part of something much greater than you can imagine." Adam's heart pounded harder in his chest. "And if I refuse?" The alien's smile was unsettling. "Refuse, and there will be consequences. You will not understand the extent of our power until it is too late. This is your only chance." The room seemed to grow colder, the energy around him tightening, pressing in. Adam swallowed hard, trying to maintain control over his racing thoughts. His mind was filled with questions, with doubt. What kind of consequences? What could they possibly do if he said no? "Think carefully," the first alien warned. "Refusing our offer is not something your species can afford. The universe is full of dangers you cannot comprehend. With us, you will have the strength to protect yourself, to protect your world. Without us, you will face the consequences of your ignorance." Adam stepped back, his mind reeling. This was insane. The aliens seemed so calm, so sure of themselves, but their words were filled with threats that were difficult to ignore. He tried to imagine what kind of power they were talking about. What could they offer him that would be worth risking everything? "Why me?" he asked again, his voice cracking. "What makes me so special?" The alien's gaze softened, just slightly. It is not about you, human. It is about the future. Your species will play a pivotal role in the coming changes, and we need you to accept this offer for the good of everyone, including you." The words hung in the air, heavy and unnerving. Adam could feel the weight of their meaning, but he didn't fully understand. It was too much to take in, too overwhelming. His gut told him to run, to get as far away from them as possible, but his curiosity, his need for answers, kept him rooted to the spot. The silence stretched on, thick and suffocating, until the tallest alien spoke again. "Consider our offer carefully, human. Time is not on your side." And just like that, they were gone. One moment, the room was filled with the presence of these powerful beings, and the next, it was empty. The only trace they left behind was the echo of their words and the strange feeling of unease that clung to Adam's skin. He stood there, alone in the dimly lit room, his mind spinning. What had just happened? Was it a dream? Or had he really met beings from another world? The offer was still fresh in his mind. Power, wealth, everything he could ever want, in exchange for his body. What did it all mean? Adam couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The offer was just the start of something much bigger, something that would change everything he thought he knew about the universe, and whether he accepted or refused, his life would never be the same again. The warning. Adam couldn't sleep that night. The darkness in his room felt suffocating, as though the walls were closing in on him. He tossed and turned, replaying the conversation with the aliens over and over again in his mind. The words they had spoken echoed relentlessly. Power, wealth, destruction. The bargain they had offered was tempting, too tempting, but there was something about it that didn't sit right with him. He couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to their proposal than they were letting on. And if he refused, the consequences they hinted at felt far too real. It wasn't just a threat. It was a warning, something far more dangerous lurking just beyond the surface. His thoughts were interrupted by a soft knock at the door. "Adam, you awake?" came the familiar voice of his best friend, Sarah. Adam sighed in relief, grateful for the distraction. He had known Sarah for years. She was the one person in the world who knew him better than anyone else, his closest confidant. He opened the door to find her standing there, her face etched with concern. "I couldn't sleep either," she said, her eyes searching his face. "You've been acting strange since you came back from that meeting, whatever it was. You okay?" Adam let out a nervous laugh, trying to mask the unease that had settled in his stomach. "Yeah, I'm fine. Just a lot on my mind, you know." Sarah studied him carefully, her expression serious. "I've known you long enough to know when you're lying. Tell me what's really going on." Taking a deep breath, Adam finally relented. He led her into the room, closing the door behind them. He couldn't keep the secret from her anymore. She had a right to know what had happened, what they had offered him. They were aliens, Sarah. Real, actual aliens. They came to me with a proposal. He explained everything. Their appearance, the offer, the power and wealth they had promised, and most importantly, the chilling warning about the consequences of refusal. Sarah blinked, processing the information. "Aliens? Are you serious?" Adam nodded. "It sounds insane, I know, but it happened. And the more I think about it, the more I feel like I don't have a choice. What if they're right? What if refusing them means something terrible will happen?" Sarah's gaze softened as she sat down on the edge of his bed. "Look, Adam, I know you're scared. I get it. But you can't just accept something like that without really understanding what it means. They offered you power, wealth, everything you could ever want." "Right. Right," Adam murmured. "But it's not just that. They didn't just offer me those things. They made it sound like rejecting them would destroy everything I know. They said they've been watching us, and that humanity is going to play a pivotal role in the future. If I say no, they'll make us pay." Sarah's eyes widened. "Wait a second. You think they could destroy Earth? Or something worse?" Adam nodded grimly. I don't know. They didn't say exactly what would happen, but they were clear enough that I could feel the weight of their words. They're powerful, Sarah. I could see it in their eyes, in the way they moved. They weren't bluffing. Sarah was silent for a long moment, the only sound in the room being the faint hum of the air conditioner. Finally, she spoke, her voice steady, but filled with concern. Adam, this sounds like one of those things you can't take lightly. If they have the power to destroy us, to hurt us, then rejecting them might be the last thing you should do. But, she paused, as if choosing her words carefully. There has to be a way to find out more before making any decision. You can't just trust them blindly, and you can't just accept their offer without knowing what it really means. I don't want to lose you to some alien scheme. Adam looked at her, gratitude flooding his chest. Sarah always had a way of calming his nerves, of making him see things more clearly when everything felt like chaos. I don't want to lose me either, he admitted quietly. But what if they're telling the truth? What if the only way to protect everyone is to take their offer? Sarah's expression hardened. Then you have to make sure that's really the case. Don't just take their word for it. If what they say is true, then we need to prepare ourselves. But we can't make a decision based on fear, Adam. That's what they want. They want you to be scared, to think there's no other way. And that's not how we should face something like this. Her words gave Adam pause. He had been so focused on the possibility of destruction that he hadn't stopped to consider the other side of the equation. The possibility that there was a way to fight back, a way to stand up to these aliens without giving in to their demands. Okay, Adam said, his voice more determined. You're right. I need to think this through, get more information. I can't just accept this blindly. But what if they come for me again? What if they don't give me time to think? Sarah stood up, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. Then we'll figure it out together. We'll make sure you have all the information you need. I won't let you face this alone. A sense of determination began to grow inside Adam, replacing the fear that had clouded his mind. Maybe there was a way out of this. Maybe refusing the aliens wasn't the end of the story. It was just the beginning of a much bigger fight. But one thing was for certain. He wasn't going to make his decision in the dark. Not this time. The tempting truth. The next few days passed in a blur. Adam couldn't stop thinking about the offer from the aliens, but he also couldn't ignore Sarah's advice. He tried to act normal, to go through the motions of everyday life, but everything felt different now. Every time he stepped outside, the world seemed just a little too small, and the sky above seemed to hold secrets that were just out of his reach. One evening, as he was walking home from the lab, his mind still consumed with questions, he felt a strange pull, something guiding him. He wasn't sure if it was intuition or the remnants of that strange encounter, but he found himself walking toward the same abandoned building where the aliens had first approached him. He stopped at the entrance, the familiar hum of energy still lingering in the air. It felt as though the building was waiting for him, as if the aliens were expecting him. He took a deep breath, hesitated for only a moment, and then stepped inside. The room was as it had been before, large, dimly lit, and filled with a strange, oppressive energy. But this time, there was something different. The air felt thicker, charged with an unseen force, and as he looked around, he saw them again. The three alien figures standing in the same spot, as though they had never moved. You came, the tallest alien said, its voice calm and almost reassuring, as though it had known all along that Adam would return. I had to know more, Adam replied, his voice steady but tinged with uncertainty. What exactly do you want from me? And why my body? The alien nodded, its glowing eyes focused on him. You have many questions, human, and we have answers. But first, we must show you what lies beyond the veil of your understanding. Before Adam could respond, the air around him shimmered. A soft, golden light enveloped the room, and for a moment, everything seemed to fade away. He blinked, trying to adjust to the sudden brightness. But it wasn't blinding. It was warm, almost inviting. Then, like a curtain being pulled back, the room began to change. He saw visions, flashes of distant worlds, alien landscapes, and the vastness of space. He watched as civilizations rose and fell, as empires stretched across galaxies, and as wars ravaged entire star systems. There were alien races, some peaceful, some warlike, each struggling for dominance, each struggling for survival. And then, amidst these cosmic spectacles, he saw Earth, small and fragile in the vastness of space. It was beautiful, but vulnerable. He watched as other alien races observed humanity, some intrigued by their potential, others wary of their aggression. The vision shifted again, and Adam saw himself standing in the center of a grand alien council. His body was different, stronger, more powerful. He could feel it, the surge of energy running through him, the sensation of invincibility. He was no longer the average human scientist. He was a leader, a figure of power, commanding the respect of these alien beings. But something about it felt wrong. The power was intoxicating, yes, but it came at a cost. In the distance, Adam could see a world, his world, burning. Fires raged across the cities. People screamed, running for their lives. The earth was on the brink of destruction. The aliens' voices echoed in his mind. "We offer you power, human, not just for you, but for your species. Join us, and humanity will never again be weak. You will have the strength to protect your world, to lead the galaxy. But first, you must pay the price. Your body is the key. It will become the vessel through which you gain this power." Adam staggered back, the visions fading as quickly as they had come. The room returned to its dim, quiet state, and the golden light dissipated into nothingness. His heart was pounding in his chest, his mind a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. "Is that what you're offering?" he asked breathlessly, still trying to make sense of the images he had just seen. "You want me to be what? Some kind of weapon? A leader? A ruler?" The alien closest to him nodded, its eyes unwavering. "Not a weapon. A force. A guide. You will lead humanity to its rightful place in the galaxy. The power we offer is not just for you, Adam. It is for your species. We see the potential in you. The potential that lies dormant within humanity. But you must accept the bargain. Your body, your essence, will become the conduit through which this power flows." Adam's mind was reeling. The temptation was stronger now than ever before. Power, strength, the chance to protect Earth, to make sure humanity never had to face the same threats again. But at what cost? "What happens if I refuse?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The alien's expression softened. "If you refuse..." One night, unable to sleep again, Adam found himself walking through the quiet streets. The cool night air did little to ease his racing thoughts. The world seemed empty, like a ghost town, with the lights of distant buildings flickering like dying stars. He could hear his footsteps echoing, loud in the stillness, and he wondered how many others were out there, struggling with the same questions. As he walked, he found himself back at the old, abandoned building. Without thinking, he stepped inside, his heart pounding in his chest. The air was thick, just as it had been the first time, and the tension felt almost tangible. He didn't know what he expected to find, but he was drawn there as though the building itself was calling to him. The aliens were waiting for him, just as they had been before, standing in the center of the room. They seemed almost patient, as though they had known he would come back. "You've come to a decision," the tallest alien said, its voice as calm and steady as ever. Adam nodded, though he wasn't sure if he had come to a decision, or if he was simply too afraid to walk away. "I've thought about what you've said, what you showed me." The alien's eyes gleamed with something that might have been approval. "Good. You understand the magnitude of what is at stake now. We have given you the opportunity to change the fate of your world. You will lead humanity into a new era." Adam's voice trembled despite himself. "But I'm not ready for this. I'm just one person. What if I fail? What if I become something I'm not? I don't know if I can handle the power you're offering. I'm scared of what it will do to me." The alien's expression softened. "Fear is a natural response, human. But fear is what holds your species back. You are not just one person in this equation. You are the bridge to a new future for your people. You must become the leader they need, whether you are ready or not. The power will not corrupt you, Adam. It will empower you." Adam stepped back, the weight of the decision pressing down on him. He wanted to say no. He wanted to walk away, to return to his life, his quiet, predictable existence. But he knew that was no longer an option. The future was already moving, and he was caught in its current. To say no would be to condemn humanity to a future of weakness and vulnerability. And yet, the thought of becoming something other than human, of losing himself in the pursuit of power, terrified him. Would he still be Adam? Would he still remember who he was if he accepted their offer? Or would he become just another pawn in their game, a tool for their own unknown purposes? "You're asking me to sacrifice who I am," Adam said quietly, his voice barely above a whisper, "to give up everything I know and become something else." The alien tilted its head as if considering his words. "Sacrifice is the price of greatness, human. To gain power, one must be willing to pay the price. But remember, the choice is yours. You are not being forced into this. The power we offer is not a curse, but a gift, one that can reshape your world and protect your people from the coming storm." Adam took a deep breath, trying to steady his nerves. The alien's words had weight, but they didn't make the decision any easier. He closed his eyes, his mind racing. What if they were right? What if humanity did need him? What if refusing them was the wrong choice? He could already feel the pull of their offer, the temptation to accept, to become more than he had ever dreamed possible. But deep down, he knew that accepting their offer would come at a cost. The power they promised wasn't just something you wielded. It changed you, shaped you, twisted you into something different. Was he willing to pay that price? Suddenly, a voice broke through the silence. It was Sarah, standing at the door of the building, her eyes filled with worry, but also determination. She had followed him, knowing he couldn't make this decision alone. "Adam, you don't have to do this," she said, her voice calm but firm. "You don't have to give up who you are. We can fight this. We don't need to accept their power to survive. I believe in you. I believe in humanity. We're stronger than you think." Her words cut through the fog in his mind, like a light cutting through darkness. He had been so focused on the idea of power, on the fear of what might happen if he refused, that he had forgotten about what really mattered. Humanity didn't need him to become something he wasn't. They needed him to be himself. Adam looked at the aliens, his mind clearer now than it had ever been. "I'm sorry, but I can't accept your offer," he said, his voice steady. "I refuse to lose myself for the sake of power. If humanity is going to survive, it will be because we fight together, not because one person accepts a bargain." The alien's expression didn't change. "You have made your choice, human. But know this, the path you choose will not be easy. The universe does not wait for those who are weak, and the consequences of your decision will follow you." Adam didn't flinch. He had made his choice, and he would face whatever came next with the strength that only humanity could offer. Because in the end, it wasn't the power that mattered. It was the will to fight for what was right. As he turned to leave, Sarah by his side, Adam felt a strange calm wash over him. The universe might be vast and dangerous, but he was ready to face it, not as something alien, but as a human. And that was all he needed to be. The hidden agenda. The days following Adam's decision were filled with a quiet tension that seemed to settle over him like a thick fog. The alien offer, despite being refused, had not disappeared. The whispers of their promises and the weight of their warning lingered in his mind. like shadows that stretched across his thoughts no matter where he went. But it wasn't just the aliens that were weighing on him. The more he thought about their words, the more he began to question their true intentions. They had offered him power, yes, but at what cost? They had claimed it was for the good of humanity, that his acceptance would lead to a new era of strength and protection. But something didn't sit right. He began to dig into the records, the reports from other scientists and researchers who had encountered strange anomalies, things they couldn't explain, strange disturbances in space, the appearance of new powerful factions in the galaxy. It all seemed to point to something bigger than just the offer the aliens had made. There was a connection, something Adam hadn't seen before. He decided to visit Sarah. If anyone could help him put the pieces together, it was her. The two of them had been through everything together, and he trusted her more than anyone else. When he arrived at her apartment, he found her waiting for him, her face lit by the soft glow of her desk lamp. She was going through the data he had sent her, her eyes scanning the pages with a mixture of focus and concern. "Hey," Adam said, trying to sound normal despite the storm brewing inside him. "I think I've figured something out." Sarah looked up, her expression softening. "Figured something out about what?" Adam sat down across from her, taking a deep breath. "About the aliens. The offer. It's not just about power. There's something else going on, something they're not telling us." Sarah furrowed her brow. "What do you mean? They told you that rejecting their offer would have consequences, but they didn't exactly give us the details. I mean, they didn't seem like the type to explain everything in full, did they?" Adam nodded. "Exactly. They'd been vague about the consequences, but I've been looking into some data, and it's not just about us. It's about them. They've been manipulating things behind the scenes for a long time. I think they're building something." "Building something," Sarah repeated, her voice laced with skepticism. "What do you mean?" "I mean a network," Adam said. "A network of alliances, of power. The offer they made wasn't about us gaining strength. It was about them gaining control. I think they've been using humanity as a pawn in a much larger game." Sarah's eyes widened as she absorbed the implications of his words. "You think they've been manipulating us all along. But why? What's their endgame?" Adam leaned back in his chair, his mind racing. "I think they've been watching Earth for years, trying to determine whether humanity is a threat or a resource. They see our potential, but they also know we're too unpredictable, too dangerous if left unchecked. They want to bring us under their control, but they're doing it in stages, giving us little pieces of power, making us think we're the ones in control when really they are pulling the strings." Sarah's face grew pale as she processed this new information. "So the whole offer, it wasn't really about helping us. It was about them setting up their own power structure." "Exactly," Adam confirmed. "They didn't care about making us stronger. They cared about making sure we stayed under their influence, that we were never strong enough to resist them. They've been weaving this web of alliances, building a galaxy-wide empire, and they needed us to be a part of it. That's why they offered power, not for our benefit, but for theirs." For a moment, there was silence. Sarah's eyes were locked on Adam, as though trying to decide if she believed him or not, but the look on his face, grim, determined, told her everything she needed to know. "This changes everything," Sarah finally said, her voice low. "If what you're saying is true, then refusing them was the right choice. But what now? What do we do about it? Do we warn people? How do we even stop them if they're already this far into their plans?" Adam stood up, pacing back and forth in frustration. "I don't know. I've been trying to think of a way to stop them, but they're so far ahead of us. We're not even on the same playing field. But I do know one thing. We can't let them take control. Not of humanity, not of the galaxy. We need to expose them," Sarah said suddenly, as though the idea had just clicked into place. "We need to let people know what they're doing. But we can't just go to the authorities. If the aliens have already infiltrated everything, that might not work. We need evidence, something concrete that proves they've been manipulating us. Adam stopped pacing and looked at her. You're right. We need proof. But how do we get it? How do we gather enough evidence to stop them? Sarah's eyes brightened with determination. We find their weakness. There has to be something they're hiding, something that will expose their true intentions. If we can get access to their systems, to their networks, we might be able to find it. Once we have that, we can expose them to the rest of the galaxy. Adam felt a spark of hope flicker inside him. Sarah was right. If they could uncover what the aliens were hiding, they could stop them before it was too late. But he knew it wouldn't be easy. The aliens had technology far beyond anything humanity had ever seen. But there was one thing they didn't have: Adam and Sarah's resolve. We'll do it, Adam said, his voice steady. We'll find the evidence we need, and we'll expose them, whatever it takes. But even as the words left his mouth, a sense of dread settled over him. They weren't just up against the aliens anymore. They were up against a powerful, shadowy empire that had been operating in the shadows for far too long. And exposing them wouldn't just be a fight for survival. It would be a war for the future of humanity itself. The final choice. The days after their decision to go after the aliens' hidden agenda were filled with tension and preparation. Adam and Sarah worked tirelessly, piecing together the fragments of information they had uncovered, tracking down sources who might have knowledge of the aliens' true intentions, and trying to figure out a way to expose them without drawing attention. But with every piece they uncovered, the scope of the conspiracy became clearer, and the task ahead grew more daunting. One evening, as they sat in Sarah's apartment surrounded by piles of data and glowing screens, Adam felt the weight of the decision pressing on him more heavily than ever before. They were getting closer to finding the evidence they needed, but every step they took felt like walking on a razor's edge. They knew they were being watched. The aliens had to know that they were onto them. We're running out of time, Sarah said, breaking the silence. Her voice was strained, and there was a look in her eyes that Adam hadn't seen before. It was fear. The more we dig, the more dangerous it becomes. They're powerful, Adam. We're not equipped to take them on. If we fail, it's not just us who will suffer. It's everyone. Adam looked at her, his face set with determination. I know, but we can't back down now. We've seen what they want. We've seen the destruction they're capable of. If we let them keep going, Earth won't stand a chance. We can't live in fear of what might happen if we act. We have to take the fight to them. But what if we're not ready? Sarah's voice shook slightly, and she leaned back in her chair, staring at the flickering screens. What if we're walking into a trap? What if we make the wrong choice? Adam stood, his hands clenched at his sides. I don't know if we're ready, but we've already made the decision. We're doing this, and we're doing it because we have no choice. If we don't, humanity loses. Everything we've worked for, everything we've fought for, will be for nothing. Sarah looked up at him, her eyes filled with both concern and admiration. I just don't want to lose you, Adam. His heart twisted at her words. He didn't want to lose her either. But he knew that if they didn't stop the aliens now, they could lose everything. Earth, their future, their way of life. The consequences were too dire to ignore. I won't let anything happen to you, Adam promised. I'm not doing this alone. They sat in silence for a few moments, the weight of their mission settling over them like a heavy cloak. The aliens had shown them a glimpse of what was to come, a future of power and control, but they had also shown them a world of destruction. Adam knew that they had no choice but to fight for what was right. Suddenly, a soft ping from one of Sarah's terminals broke the silence. She turned to the screen, her eyes narrowing as she analyzed the data. Wait a second, Sarah muttered, her fingers flying across the keyboard. I found something. It's a transmission. It's coming from one of their ships. It's encrypted, but I think I can break it. Adam moved closer to her, his heart racing. This could be the breakthrough they had been waiting for. What does it say? What's in the transmission? Sarah's fingers paused over the keys for a moment before she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. It's a message, but it's not to us. It's a warning. The aliens are preparing to move against Earth. They're going to launch an attack soon. If we don't act fast, it'll be too late. Adam's blood ran cold as the realization hit him. They were right. The aliens had been manipulating humanity all along, but now they were preparing to strike. And Earth was powerless to stop them. No, Adam whispered, his voice trembling with urgency. We can't let them do this. We have to stop them. We have to stop them now. Sarah's eyes met his, her expression hardening. We have the evidence. Now we need to expose them. We have to get this message to the people who can act on it, to the ones who have the resources to fight back. If we don't, it's over. Adam nodded, a surge of adrenaline coursing through him. This was it, the final choice. The moment where everything would either fall into place or spiral out of control. We need to get this message to the leaders of the world. We need to expose the aliens and stop them before they can execute their plan. But as Adam turned to make preparations, something inside him nagged at him, a quiet voice that told him to be cautious. The aliens had warned him of the consequences of refusal, and now, even though they had refused their offer, they were facing an enemy that was far more dangerous than they could have imagined. What if the aliens had been right all along? What if this was the wrong move? Could they truly win this fight? His mind raced as he weighed the cost of their next steps. Would the fight lead to humanity's victory, or would it lead them into an even darker future, one they couldn't escape from? The decision loomed larger than ever. I'm not sure we're ready, Sarah said quietly, reading his expression. But I know we can't go back now. Adam took a deep breath and nodded. We've made our choice. We fight. We fight for humanity, for the future. We expose them and make sure everyone knows what they've been planning. But even as the words left his mouth, he knew that the fight they were about to begin would be unlike anything they could have imagined. The aliens were powerful, far more powerful than anything humanity had ever encountered. The consequences of their actions would ripple across the galaxy, affecting not only Earth but every living being who stood in their way. And Adam knew that when the dust settled, the world would never be the same again. The ultimate price. The calm before the storm lasted only a moment. Adam and Sarah worked tirelessly over the next few days, gathering everything they could. Encrypted transmissions, evidence from the alien encounter, and everything they had learned from their deep dive into the alien network. They had compiled it all into one comprehensive package. It was more than just a report. It was their lifeline, their only hope of preventing the disaster that the aliens had set in motion. The time to act had come. Standing in front of the terminal that would send the message to world leaders, Adam's heart hammered in his chest. Every instinct told him to hesitate, to double-check everything. But he couldn't afford to wait. The transmission was their only shot at stopping the alien threat. If they were wrong, or if the aliens somehow intercepted the message before it could reach the right hands, humanity would be at the mercy of a power far beyond their comprehension. We've done everything we can, Sarah said, her voice steady despite the tension in the room. She was sitting beside him, her fingers hovering above the keys, ready to send the message. This is it. No turning back. Adam nodded, swallowing hard. He had never felt more conflicted in his life. The weight of what they were about to do pressed down on him like an anvil. Sending this message wasn't just about exposing the aliens. It was about starting a war that would likely cost countless lives. Even though the aliens had made their intentions clear, Adam couldn't shake the feeling that this might lead to something much worse. We're doing the right thing, he said, trying to convince himself as much as Sarah. We can't let them control humanity. We can't let them have Earth. This is our only chance. Sarah gave him a small, determined smile, then typed in the final confirmation command. A second later, the transmission was sent. For a moment, nothing happened. The world didn't change. The universe didn't tremble. Adam thought, perhaps foolishly, that they had succeeded. Maybe the alien threat wasn't as great as they had thought. Maybe they had made the right call after all. Then the lights in the room flickered. The terminal beeped loudly, and a new, unfamiliar message appeared on the screen. "You have made your choice, Adam." Adam's blood ran cold. The voice wasn't Sarah's, nor was it human. It was the voice of the alien leader, the one who had offered him the power, the one who had warned him of the consequences of refusal. The screen continued. "You were warned that rejecting us would lead to your destruction. Now you will understand the true price of your defiance. We gave you the opportunity to join us, to become part of something greater than yourself. But you chose to reject us, and now you will pay the price for your foolishness." The room seemed to close in on Adam, the walls growing tighter, the air thick with an unseen force. He could feel the temperature drop, the very energy in the room shifting. "We didn't think they'd react so quickly," Sarah said, her voice strained as she turned to him. "What now?" Adam didn't know how to answer her. He could hear the deep hum of a ship's engine reverberating outside, but it wasn't a ship like any he'd ever seen. The alien craft, hidden somewhere above the atmosphere, was now alert. They were coming. Fast. Suddenly, the window on the far side of the room shattered, a powerful force lifting Adam and Sarah off their feet. The shockwave knocked them both to the ground. Adam's vision blurred as a loud, ear-splitting sound filled the air, like the world was tearing apart at the seams. His ears rang, but through the chaos, he could hear the voice again, colder and more sinister this time. "You are too late, human. You cannot stop what is already in motion. This galaxy belongs to us. You and your kind are no different from the others we have conquered. Your refusal is the final nail in your coffin." The transmission ended with a sharp crack, followed by a sudden, overwhelming silence. Adam scrambled to his feet, trying to focus. Through the broken window, he could see the sky beginning to change. The stars above Earth seemed to ripple, as if reality itself was being warped by the alien presence. The aliens weren't just coming. They were already here, and they were stronger than anyone had realized. "Sarah, we need to get to the communications tower. We need to warn everyone, get them to take action, before it's too late," Adam said, his voice urgent, almost frantic. But Sarah was frozen, staring out the window. "It's too late, Adam. Look." Adam turned to see what she was looking at. Above Earth, he saw it, a massive alien ship, larger than anything humanity could have imagined, descending through the atmosphere. The sky itself seemed to twist around it, warping and bending as the ship entered the lower atmosphere. "This is it," Adam whispered, his heart sinking. "They've started the invasion." The alien vessel glided silently through the air, casting a shadow over the city. It was the size of a city block, with sleek, angular lines that glimmered in the light, a stark contrast to the rough, uneven edges of the human world. It was terrifyingly beautiful, a perfect blend of advanced technology and cold, calculated power. Adam turned to Sarah, his resolve hardening. "We have to fight. It's our only choice now." Sarah nodded, determination flooding her eyes. "You're right. We've already exposed them. Now we need to rally everyone we can and prepare for the worst. We won't go down without a fight." They'd rushed to the communications tower, rallying what they could: a small group of resistance fighters, a few loyal allies from Earth's government, and anyone who could understand the gravity of the situation. They sent out another message, warning the world of the incoming alien forces and calling for global action. But as they did, the sky above darkened further, and Adam felt a chill in his bones. The price of their defiance had arrived. The alien forces descended on Earth with a ruthless efficiency that only advanced technology could afford. They began their assault, not with weapons, but with manipulation. They overwhelmed global communications, preventing Earth from coordinating its defense. They seized control of key cities, locking down all areas of resistance before humanity could even mount a counterattack. The invasion was swift, methodical, and brutal. Adam and Sarah watched as their world, their home, was slowly taken from them. The fight had begun, but the true cost of defiance was far higher than they had ever imagined. As the first wave of destruction swept across the planet, Adam realized one painful truth. In their quest to expose the aliens, they had doomed their world to war, and the cost was far steeper than anyone could have anticipated. The ultimate price had been paid, and the battle for Earth's future was just beginning.